We're live now. We're live now. Okay, cool. Perfect. So this is a sim meeting for May. We had another an attempt to do this hackathon 1 week ago, but we didn't reach the quorum. So now we've postponed it until now. So we have 3 items in the agenda. I expect this meeting to be very short because we don't have a lot of community proposals, and we only have got one in the recent months. So this is the first one we're going to discuss. It's commonality comparisons. We had another SIP proposal to review. It was matching fixed and prefix types to expression rules. But the author of that SIP has, we have agreed to put off that review until next month when he will have an implementation. So we will be able to play with the prototype and stuff. And the third item is basically that I propose to Adrian to introduce some of the changes that are happening right now in the front of the split between, in the front of the split in the Scala standard library. So for those that don't know, the Scala standard library is splitting up into the Scala core and the Scala platform. And some of the modules that are right now in the Scala standard library are going to be deprecated or completely removed. So just to give some idea to the community about these changes, Adrian will introduce them, and even if it's in a very early stage, he has some idea about the things that could happen in the next months. So we start with the first SIP, and Martin is the reviewer. So basically, the proposal was aiming to introduce new syntax, reusing the for comprehension for monads, but this time for comonads. So what do you think about that, guys? Have you read the SIP?
I have.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I did as well.
Same here.
Do you have any thoughts? I've seen that Adrian was asking for a proposal in the Scala PR. That was already done.
Yes. I can comment.
Perfect.
If that's okay with the procedure. So basically, the original proposal I submitted to the SIP repository. It's a bit brief. So personally, I would like to see a better motivation for this language feature. So for instance, we all came to love the monad stuff, right? And it's been used in a lot of areas, in a lot of patterns. On the other hand, comonads, they're just, they're just gaining followers. And probably for Scala as a practice-oriented language, it would be important to see concrete use cases that could be simplified by having this in the language. I think someone on the Scala contributors mailing list, I think it was Heather actually, mentioned that, well, it would be nice to explain this in plain English. And I think that would be a critical point, how the SIP could be improved. Over this, during this conference that Facebook recently held, called PLEM, I met with TypeScript guys, and then I went through their design documents. There's this really cool document called TypeScript Design Goals, where people basically state, well, assumptions about the design process. And one of the non-goals there, number 1, it says that they are not going to exactly mimic the design of existing languages. Instead, they want to find, essentially idiomatic solutions that would benefit TypeScript and JavaScript. So in that sense, I think it would be really important for us in Scala to understand what exactly would be the benefits that our users could realize in their applications. So I know that there was a paper about the co-do notation linked in the proposal, but I think just the paper that references Haskell is probably not enough for us in Scala. So that's one of my thoughts. I have more, but I guess you guys also have to mention something.
I would like to clarify that today we are deciding whether we number this proposal or not. And that means that, well, if it's numbered, we will continue to review this proposal, but if it's not, it's discarded. And that's all explained in the Scala platform process. I'm going to comment because Josh told me to say some things. So he basically was very interested in this feature, but he told me that he would like to see more motivation for this language feature, and concretely he would like to see more examples. I know that there have been some examples in the Scala contributor thread, but he thinks those are not enough.
Yeah, I would support Josh. So the example that we've seen, it felt a bit synthetic. I mean, so it was about processing data from one shape to another shape. But what I would like to see is the patterns that can be used, well, that arise from this co-for notation and from co-monads in general. For instance, like, I don't know, you can do futures, and if you do map and flat map, and maybe if you use for notation with futures, you get this and this benefit, and asynchronous code in general becomes easier. I think that use cases like that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was actually more skeptical than both you and Josh, because well, I don't really think that Scala is the language to essentially just add random syntax features to. So we have to have a very, very good reason to add something to syntax. B, when the reason to do for expressions was that it was obvious that monads would be widely used. I mean, if it hadn't been for the for, people would have just used map and flat map like that. So it was clear that there was essentially a widespread use for the for expressions. And for the co-monads, as I think the proposers themselves say, that, well, maybe they are not as popular because they haven't had specialized syntax like the for expressions. But I think that's really putting the cart before the horse. So I think before we should consider this, I personally would want to see really widespread and popular use of co-monadic constructs in libraries. Before that, I wouldn't consider anything.
I'm more on the side of Martin on this one. In addition, I did read the proposal like twice or 3 times, and I still don't get a reasonable idea of what the detriggering actually is. So not even mentioning the fact that I don't really understand co-monads to begin with, but even so, I should be able to at least understand the detriggering, and I don't. So it seems like this one is significantly more complicated than the for detriggering, so it has to pull its weight.
Language-wise, what I found pretty surprising at the time when I initially read the proposal is that type checking of a co-for expression, proposed addition to the language, it actually depends on the expected type, which is, I think, pretty unprecedented in Scala. So I realized that due to how type inference works in Haskell, that's definitely normal, and that it works like that, for instance. Well, in a lot of other places in the language, say do notation as well. But in Scala, I think it would be beneficial to find a more idiomatic solution. Because it really can, when I first look at the example that said val something colon expected type equals co4, I was like, oh my God, but how do you type check this? And then I realized, oh, you take, the expected function type, and then from its parameter, you start the type checking. So that was fairly unintuitive.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys have said. I think it's not very clear how useful this would be, and I'm not even sure that there are many co-monads out there that are useful. So to me, this looks like an interesting research direction, but to be part of Scala, I think we need more. I don't know, more use cases and people actually using it before adding additional syntax. So I'm personally not convinced we should even number this proposal. At least the current form doesn't give me much hope this will lead anywhere.
Yeah, that's also my sentiments.
I would.
I agree as well.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts, Adrian?
I have nothing to add to that, except that I agree.
Okay, so it seems that the discussion is settled, so maybe we can vote on this. So let's do it the easiest way. Is there someone here that wants to number this proposal? Okay, so it's gonna be discarded then.
Are there abstentions?
Yeah, any abstentions? Something? Okay, so thanks to the author for taking the time to do this, and we will provide feedback in the Scala contributors thread and in the PR. So we move on to the next and last item of the agenda, which is now the changes that Adrian wanted to introduce. As I said previously in the beginning of this meeting, we're going to skip the second item that we had scheduled. So, yeah, go ahead, Adrian. Do you have something to say?
Yeah. So this, first of all, this is available for feedback as well through the roadmap tickets that we have for 2.13. We can discuss after maybe whether there should be a SIP or not. Since this is more about reorganizing things into different modules, it hadn't really immediately occurred to me that might be necessary, but if you guys feel it is, we can definitely do that. So from the ticket, here's a quick list of some of the packages, or all the packages I can think of myself right now that I think shouldn't be in the core. So that would be Scala concurrent, Scala.ref, Scala.sys, Scala.compat, which is already entirely deprecated, Scala.text, which has like one or two things in there that are completely deprecated. And then Scala util has try and either, of course. So I propose those move to the Scala package, and the util package itself moves out. There's a couple of things in hashing that are used at runtime, so I think those could move to runtime to really make this clean. Or we could discuss maybe one of those packages should stay in the Scala library jar. Did I mention Scala IO that I think probably, but that's a discussion for the Scala platform process, will be replaced by better files or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's it. I think most of these are actually just simply deprecations. I think the Scala.io and the Scala.sys packages are good targets for replacement by better community modules. The Scala concurrent one, I think, will just live on in its current form, but it makes sense to have it split out because it's kind of platform dependent in a way.
What will happen to XML?
That's already a module, right? So essentially, all these packages will go the same way as Scala Swing, Scala XML, Scala parser combinators, the continuation plugin. If no one from the community steps up to maintain them and push them forward, we will keep maintaining them, through their deprecation cycle, if they are deprecated, or if not, just indefinitely. Mm-hmm. If this makes them available, I would say, or eligible for replacement through the SPP by a better module, and I especially hope Scala IO and Scala.sys will get that. We'll get some more attention, and we'll find a better implementation for those modules. Yeah, so I mean, the deprecation of these packages or classes in those packages are kind of a separate matter. All these things will be available in 2.13 as jars, but you will have to add them yourself to your class path if you're using them. That's kind of where the proposal currently stands.
Are we going to have some kind of tool to do that automatically, or to know whether people are depending on them before they actually migrate to Scala 2.13? So that it is for them.
Well, the tooling is just adding one line in library dependencies, going in letters.
Yeah, but yeah, right. In that case, yeah.
But what do we actually gain with that? Because I mean, we would essentially break basically all builds out there, right? Because I guess every build depends on some of these things. Scala concurrent is very, very widely used.
Yeah.
I'm a bit on the fence on Scala concurrent.
Yeah.
For controversial others.
Yep.
But
yeah, Scala concurrent, as far as I'm concerned, can stay if it turns out that this is, used a lot. I mean, it probably is.
It also, I mean, Scala util in principle is useful to have. Whether try or either should live in Scala or util is another question, but I think it's probably good to have a thing for, like, you don't want to put it in the root, but it's sort of a utility thing.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous because it tends to accumulate things that are unrelated to each other, and there are things in there that might have been in the collection package if we hadn't had a Scala util package, for example, or in a more appropriate package. Yeah, so I think Scala concurrent and Scala util are probably the primary ones that are not clear whether we should do them. I think all the other ones are good candidates, especially because of the I would say lower quality of the current Scala IO and Scala Sys implementations, and hopefully this will give them a faster cycle to improve and be replaced.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So concurrent, yeah. So concurrent, we discussed IO. I agree. Math we keep, I imagine.
Yeah, there's too much in there for
But we keep
yeah, we keep it. There are the big int and big decimal.
What about the ref thing?
So I can tell you that one is not platform independent.
Yeah.
So it is. I mean, most of these things don't work on Scala.js. Weak references eventually will, but like in what, 5 years?
So what about Scala ref?
Ref is
Should I go away?
also maybe a candidate to list.
Yeah, so that was on my list. Let me see if we can post the ticket that I'm reading off of in the chat. Oh, Seth already did. Yeah.
It's
Scala concurrent. Scala ref.
So yeah, that pull request was kind of a quick draft proposal of kind of the maximal list of packages I think we could split out. And I'm happy to whittle that down to a more reasonable size. Below them is a list of kind of the dependencies from the core of the library to the various modules. So the various deprecations that or removals that we've done in the core library. So this would also give you a sense of perhaps how other code depends on these various modules.
So following this pull request, the ones that are confirmed are Scala concurrent, Scala util, Scala IO, Scala ref, Scala sys, Scala compat, and Scala text. I'm just mentioning them again.
Right. Yeah. That's the full list. I don't think there's anything outside of those that we would consider moving out. And so the question is what subset of these make sense as a module. Some of them I think will just eventually disappear, and we maintain for a while for compatibility, like Scala compat and Scala text.
I see.
Maybe another
Scala text scheduled for 2.11.
Yeah, it should have been removed zillions of years ago.
Yeah. I mean, we've just been conservative with the deprecation cycle there, I guess.
Yeah, I think this one can just disappear, and if someone complains, we publish a new jar.
Yep, that would be nice.
Gonna create a program and depend on it today.
So I think maybe an objective-ish criterion would be things that are already deprecated plus things that are not platform independent. Like, I mean, this is probably a reasonable objective criterion for things to move out of the core.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mostly match what we just said, actually. So text, because except util is on the fence, but it would definitely mean compact because all deprecated, IO because it's not platform independent, ref likewise, sys likewise, text it's all deprecated, and then there's the case of util
And concurrent.
and so concurrent according to this
Criterion should go away. Yeah.
I mean, it depends on your definition of platform independent.
Yes.
Well, it works except await. No, await doesn't. So yeah, there is
No one uses that anyway.
the async parts are platform independent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it would be nice.
Good to have them,
Yeah.
I also think that's not a lot is gained by moving it out. It seems like we're going back to the previous thing where we wouldn't standardize on future or things like that. I think it was important that we did in a sense. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
So one thing we easily gain is that Scala.js users wouldn't be confused by the fact that await the results compiles but does not link. So that's like one thing to consider.
I guess it's better to recommend that. And
Yeah.
well, since it has so widespread use, I think it's better to keep it.
I also think globally it should probably stay in the core, this one. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me. I don't think that precludes any other things moving out. So.
And yeah, there are things like Scala util random, Scala util sorting.
So those two, I would propose they move to math. You could, I think Scala util it gets tricky, but you could imagine like having like trying either in the Scala package, random and sorting. Like sorting is kind of a type class if I remember correctly. Oh no, it's just a utility method, like a bunch of utility methods.
Variable is either.
Yeah, dynamic variable kind of, I don't know. Should we have that actually? Like, would we add that now?
Yeah, I think
okay.
so, yeah, absolutely.
What?
Dynamic variable.
Yeah, what about it?
I think it's useful.
It's used like a console. Other than that, I'm not sure.
It's like a wrapper around the thread local. So I'm always a little skeptical when I see that, whether we would do that. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know where it might be used in the FRP stuff. I have a feeling that it would, yeah. Yeah, I think it's used in the FRP stuff.
In cases where we don't really know the uses of some of the APIs, we could even get popular Scala projects from GitHub and analyze them with the Scala meta to see how popular they are.
Also, there is packages in util. There's regex matching.
Yeah, so that would have to move into the collections or something like that, or
regex don't make sense in collections.
Yeah, or somewhere. I don't have a better spot, but yeah.
I have the impression we're causing everyone a lot of work by moving things around, and I don't really see the gain for that.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it was worth a shot because I feel like there's a lot of random stuff in there. But
Okay,
maybe
we're open to try to have a look at what's in there, and maybe we can deprecate some of the stuff in there.
Okay, I think that might be a good compromise. Yeah.
So what happens to control? Is it going away?
I'm not a fan of that package. If you look at what's in there, it's like,
Yeah.
control throwable trait and no stack trace trait, and then, I don't know. I think it's pretty.
I've seen lots of
I
uses
mean, you
of
have
that
Yeah,
package.
direction there.
that's used a lot.
That's actually
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying it's not used. I'm just kind of, I don't know.
There's non-fatal too, which is
Non-fatal, yeah, that's like
basically
universal.
core now.
Sure.
It's,
Yeah.
What you want to do, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get non-fatal.
I don't see anything in Scala util that, I mean, that deserves to be removed. Like,
Okay.
I mean, that is problematic. There's nothing in there that's problematic.
No.
They're all good
parsing.
quality
Parsing
stuff
is also ready, right?
that, yeah.
I'm looking at an old one.
It's all good quality stuff that's used.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't need to contest that. Yeah.
What is right? What is in?
The regex isn't matching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I think that we all know we do have some kind of idea of the changes, and the best way to proceed is that you guys decide on your end the things to remove, and then we can discuss them in the next meeting or in 2 months or whenever we are approaching the end of this migration cycle.
Yeah, right. I'm just going through the packages, to the submodules here, and the one that struck me was beans. What happens with beans?
Please, can I take them out? Yeah, that's another good one. I mean, so in general, I think that opens up a bigger discussion of, we have a bunch of annotations that are in the top level, then some more that are in annotation, and then some more yet that are not in the annotation package, but are in the bean thing, right? So if I remember correctly, let me look up So, yeah, I mean, it's probably too painful to change anything about that, and I'm sure the beans are actually used.
And they're used by the compiler, right? So if,
yeah, I mean, we do get bug reports about that once in a while. So
Okay.
I mean,
Okay, then just put it in trees and forget about it again. Sorry, I brought it up.
yeah,
And-
open up those old scars.
the actual platform independence, I think they work in Scala JS.
Okay, good.
Really tested it, but I guess there are some tests about it, so they must pass.
I think we should add the requirements to the criterion that you just said before. I think that we should also keep only things that are widely used, and things like beans should go away.
But it's,
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge cost to
I
keep
think,
it around. It's just, yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think as the 213 cycle progresses, we'll get a lot more information and feedback from the community about the usage. Partly from the community build, and partly just as library authors start gradually adopting the 213 milestones. So I guess my point is it's okay for this to be somewhat rough to start with and to evolve through the series. We'll know more as we go.
Sure, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get some statistics on the usage of the various kind of sub packages here. Because individually, they're the cost is small, but when you put them all together, it does put some drag on evolving the library. And but yeah, I mean, it's not. I think it'll be already a nice improvement to get some of these out. One other comment is that there are some type class like traits kind of scattered around in different packages. I know that we've talked about, for Dottie or for later versions, whether we want to have a more type class based design in the library. Is that something that we should anticipate now and centralize those, or does it just make more sense to keep those in their respective packages? So
it's the ones in math, or which others did you
yeah,
have
so
in?
math has some. Let me find the other one. There's hashing and util hashing.
Uh-huh.
Type class.
Yeah, no implicit hashing defined for.
Oh,
Oh, do you know that?
didn't know about that.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, I bet you didn't, but it's there. That's kind of the point of having those packages that accumulate a bunch of different things that people just don't discover them, and they just sit there. So yeah, I think most of them are in math, and if I remember correctly, when I went through this, I was thinking maybe the hashing one belongs in math as well. But yeah, and so the math package is kind of our current collection of type classes.
Apparently, it was added at 210, so it's something that was done fairly recently.
Yeah.
That's weird. Never heard of it.
Cool.
It was hashing inequality that was added, I think, for TriMap by Alex.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So you don't have anything else to say? We're gonna finish.
Yes, not.
So like we said, Adrian, you continue doing the work. We'll get more community feedback, and then we will schedule another discussion on this in the future.
Yeah.
Free to propose a date whenever you have an idea how this thing is evolving.
Sure. Is everybody okay that we're gathering the process, the feedback through our regular, tracker on GitHub and not necessarily the SIP repository?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
In the end, we will see if this requires it or not. But for now, it's good that we are having these discussions.
Sure.
I don't think it's focus on the details. It's more important that we move forward. Perfect, guys. So thank you very much for your time. We'll see you next month, I guess, depending on if we have things to discuss or not. So have a good day.
Right.
Adrian.
Yep.
And Seth, for Copenhagen, do you know which hotel we're staying in?
Yeah. I think